Hello viewers, this is Bhatia and I welcome you all to 19 Influencers Talk on COVID-19 series in association with TechXP. Viewers, today we have with us somebody who has over 2 decades of experience in customer service, technology and operations, and now evangelizing artificial intelligence enterprises. His past stints include senior leadership roles at Bank of America, Credit Suisse, and Wipro. Viewers, he's an environmental ambassador and serves on the advisory boards of CHD Group and Corona Champions. Known to the industry as Rohan, viewers, help me welcome none other than Chief Operating Officer at Light Information Systems, Rohan Lawrence Menezes. So, hello Rohan, thank you so much for joining us today. How are you feeling?
Thank you, Bhavana, and that was an awesome intro that you just made me feel really good. And also, it's a great feeling to meet you after such a long time. I think the last time that we met was almost a year back. I think it would be almost up to a year. Next month would be when we did the leadership summit at St. Xavier's. And this is the second time somebody is introducing me, and it's you. And I'm very glad. You're a very, very talented personality. And I have been actually watching this series for some time now and following pretty much everything that's coming through from your channel. And it's an awesome job that you've been doing, Bhavana. So thank you very much for having me on the show. It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you so much, Rohan. It's always so good to have you on board and always good interacting with you as well as personally as well. So, Rohan, a lot is happening in the industry and it's great that we've got you on board. And today we're going to be talking in terms from the artificial intelligence industry. So, Rohan, with your due permission, could we go ahead with our first question?
Absolutely, Bhavana. Let's start.
Perfect. All right. So, Rohan, for the first very question, now I want you to, comment on this. The impact of COVID-19 on the AI industry. Do you feel it is a blessing in disguise?
So, Bhavana, thank you for that question. I think it's a great question to start off with. And yes, COVID-19 actually, like we all know, I mean, in all the industries, it's actually disrupted work everywhere. But yes, to the point that you mentioned, that it's a blessing in disguise for the artificial intelligence industry. Yes, it has been a boom per se, because what's happening really in the industry is that a lot of workforces, they can't get into the offices now, and there's a lot of work that ideally would have been done by humans, and now that work can be actually taken through with AI, with chatbots, and with other deployments in the AI field. I'll just take you through a few statistics in the industry. The AI industry was an industry that was being disruptive in the first place. And then, here comes COVID-19 and disrupts all the industries. And now, AI is not just another disruptor. It's something that everybody really needs to look forward to adopt. So the statistics that we have here is, by 2025, AI could be the industry and will be probably the industry that it's close to about 170 billion in size. And the company that I work with, NLP Bots, Light Information Systems, we are into cognitive processing, so cognitive intelligence, and that industry itself is close to about 76 billion in size. And these are figures that are being quoted by IDC. So just to give you a brief idea on what's happening in the industry right now.
Rohan, also for my next question, I want to know is, what are your views on enterprises adopting AI, and which areas would they prefer to deploy the AI solutions, Rohan?
Okay, so thanks, Bhavana. So basically, a lot of enterprises are looking at AI now. Okay. And there's a little bit of confusion here between what chatbots do and what AI does. So if you look at what's happening in the industry, most of them have got chatbots, and chatbots do, the regular work. For example, even you, Bhavana, right? I mean, you've been coordinating this whole exercise with me, trying to get me onto this meet. You could have a chatbot out there with questions and specific queries, and also the chatbot could actually help you set up your calendar and get you started. So it takes away all that work. But what AI does specifically is that AI depends a lot on data, and it's very, very data intensive. And a lot of these enterprises have a lot of data which they're not able to make sense with, or they do make sense with it in pockets. So now with the way AI has evolved, a lot of companies are looking to adopt
Sure.
And the main thing being, there are three, four reasons. So industries are looking for a competitive edge. Everybody wants to be, something very unique, something very different. If you go back to, Star Wars, and I'm a big fan of Star Wars, you'd have seen C3PO and you'd have seen R2D2. So
Yeah.
these are actually, AI creatures, like I call them, and but these are cognitive AI intelligence. So basically, what I mean by that is, you had robotics, so those are robots, right? These
Absolutely.
robots have the power of cognitive intelligence, where they can actually interact with you. For example, if you look at C3PO, he is like a bot that can converse in multi languages. He can understand your sentiment. He can feel how you're feeling at the moment, and he can give you advice. And you've seen that. So
Yeah.
a lot of these companies, we've actually picked it all from movies, and now we are trying and bring it to reality. So back to your question, a lot of enterprises need to adopt this technology purely to maintain a competitive edge. Secondly, a lot of these companies are doing robotic work, but there's no intelligence behind that. So if you add cognitive capabilities to this, you can get great reports which can actually help you in your sales and marketing. So almost 80% of enterprises actually have a strategy in place for artificial intelligence. So and where they would like to deploy it is in pretty much all areas that they have. So the number one being customer service, because that's one of the areas that there's a huge workforce, and especially during this COVID-19 pandemic, there is an issue with getting people into office, and people are working from home, and you could have outages and stuff like that. So issues like those can be resolved with say artificial intelligence play, or maybe virtual assistants that can actually resolve all these issues, because virtual assistants really do not, there's no requirement for them to be in an office. So, that really takes care of this pandemic issue that's going on. So, that's one of the areas, Bhavna. The other areas are like in manufacturing, or in hiring, or in, say finance, in pretty much any area that you can think of, artificial intelligence can be deployed. So, enterprises are actually looking at that, and that's where most of the AI companies in the industry are looking at helping them out.
Sure. So, Rohan, also, RPA, or the robotic process automation, was the buzzword until now. How do you see CPA, or as it's rightly said, cognitive process automation, making an entry in technology at an enterprise level? What's your take on that, Rohan?
So, Bhavna, I'm quite fascinated that you know these terminologies, because these are really the buzzwords right now. So, great question again, Bhavna. So, let me take this back a little bit. So, we all have worked with Excel, right, in Excel sheets, and we still do. And there are things in Excel known as macros. So macros are nothing but repetitive work that you do. You kind of build it with the backend of Visual Basic, and then you kind of do the macro does its work. You get your report out, and then you can use your intelligence to kind of use whatever you're getting. So all the mundane activity is getting taken care of. That was Excel. Now you have RPA that's come in. That's robotic process automation, which again does the same work. So mundane activities like say data entry, or if there's a lot of data intensive work that's going on where people need to input most of the time, that work, companies, what they used to do is they used to identify the process, break it down, understand how RPA could be used. There are a ton of RPA companies out there that are doing this work, but there's no intelligence behind this, because this is a mundane activity. It's something that you do repetitively, and that work just goes on. Now, CPA is your next barrier, or is the last frontier, where cognitive intelligence comes into play. Cognitive intelligence is nothing but the intelligence that you and I have, where anything that's done. For example, let's take an example here. So somebody reaches out to you, on your website, and you have a chatbot out there. Now, the chatbot can use a repetitive, or a rule-based program where they can respond to you, but that's not what CPA is all about. CPA is when that chatbot, that is the front end, is basically trained by artificial, and with a platform that's at the back end, to algorithms that are written, which helps them understand what the person is asking and respond accordingly. So you will not have an erroneous response, but you will have a response where you feel like you're talking to another human being. So that's where cognitive process comes into play, and that's where most of the companies are now looking to get into, because it makes a vast difference in the way the enterprise functions. For example, when an employee goes into office, or is a new joinee into an office, and you have so many people, but how many can HR actually handle? But now you've got CPA there, and with this cognitive intelligence, you're chatting with a bot, and you can take any of your queries, like a sentiment that, hey, I joined and I really don't know what's happening in this organization. I thought it was a great company, and the bot will actually respond back saying, oh, I am so sorry that you feel this way. Are there things that I can help you with? Is there somebody that I can reach out to and help you, and stuff like that, where it's like a very, very interactive kind of interaction. So that's where CPA comes into play. And this I'm just talking in terms of an employee centric engagement, but it can be applied to so many places. So great question here. And cognitive intelligence is the way to go. The industry itself is I think I mentioned it earlier, is close to the size of almost 80 billion, and a lot of players getting into it. It's a big cake, and a lot of people will get into fight that pie. So yeah, so
Sure.
yeah.
That's very interesting to know how the industry is progressing there, Rohan. Also, there's a lot of hype around AI in general, and this is a very debatable question which I'm going to ask you, Rohan. Is that, will this lead to workforce redundancy, which is the loss of jobs? What's your take there, Rohan?
Yeah, so Bhavana, ironically, this question was asked to me at the leadership summit as well at Xavier. So and at that time I did mention, that with CPA coming in, or even RPA, the work that is done by bots, or is done by a platform at the back end, where you're resolving mundane queries, will actually definitely lead to jobs going away. But in retrospect, it actually helps you upgrade your skills. You can move to another level. So I won't say, it'll take a long time for this to happen. I mean, it'll take its natural progression, where we move from A to B. So for example, in the past, we used to have typewriters. I don't know whether anybody uses typewriters anymore.
Absolutely.
But you have a computer now, and you can actually do the same thing. So you actually advance in technology. But did all the typists lose their jobs? I don't think so. I mean, I'm sure the typists actually upgraded their skills and then moved into organizations where they could use their skills in a process. So similarly, we will definitely there will be a change. I mean, there will be a change to the way the workforce executes in the future, but it will be a more intelligent workforce that you see. So yeah, great question. But and I'm frankly hoping that it does not lead to job losses, but it basically enhances the workforce, empowers them to take on substantial roles in the organization and move up the corporate level. That's where.
No, that's very interesting, because if something like this is going to lead to upskilling of a person, that's going to be a more incredible approach for sure. And Rohan, also I wanted to ask you about one thing, is that what is that advice you would like to give to the industry and all our viewers who are watching on this platform? What's your advice there? What are those perils of wisdom you want to impart to everyone?
My two bits of advice to everybody is that keep an open mindset, keep a mindset which is conducive to learning, and the world is your oyster. You can pick up anything, and you can progress. So in the past, people felt that you needed to get into coding and programming just to get into this world of artificial intelligence. That's no longer true, because the platforms that you have now are almost a do-it-yourself platforms that are out there, and you can build your own stuff. All you need is not artificial intelligence. You need your own intelligence to utilize that artificial intelligence to take you forward. So my two bits of advice to them is keep an open mind, and definitely have a learning attitude. I think it will take you a long way.
Sure. Rohan, I just want to squeeze in another question. I just want to know, in general, what led you to this transformation, or the transition rather, with 2 decades of experience in customer service, technology, and operations, to actually being in artificial intelligence. Could you also highlight on that as well, Rohan?
Sure. So that is there's a big story behind that, and I'll try and.
2 decades is not a small. It's not a small experience. So what led you that? I'm really interested.
Yeah. So I'm trying. Yeah. So basically, there are these two chaps, Sanjeev Menon and Animesh Samuel from Light Information Systems, or NLP Bots. They met me at one of the forums that we were conducting. It is for Startup Mumbai. Where basically we used to get people to network So you had corporates coming in there, and you had investors coming in there, and we were helping them network and basically help the society benefit overall. That's where I met Anime Samuel, and he just asked me. He said, Ron, you've been in the banking world for almost 2 decades. Why don't you come over to our office in Pune and have a look at the AI ecosystem? So that immediately excited me. I went there. We had a quick chat, and within seconds they said, we would like to have you on board because you have an understanding of the enterprise. We have the product that is out here, and we would like to evangelize this product. It's already doing very well in the industry. In fact, as we speak, Bhavana, we are being promoted by NVIDIA, which is the graphic process, the GPU behind our platform and behind most of the platforms. I mean, it's an amazing company which is actually promoting us in Silicon Valley. So these things, as well as some of the use cases that they showed me, and one of the use cases was the Accenture use case, where we're doing the entire hiring program for them. So that helped me make that decision to move and get into this world. And also, there's another part to it. AI is not necessarily only for enterprises to save on money or for ROI. You can also use AI for ethical purposes, for promotion of healthcare, and there's a lot of things that you can actually do with it. So these are the reasons that I thought I'll make the jump into this space.
That's interesting to know. And also, Rohan, I also got to know that you are recently on the advisory board of Corona Champions, which is a platform to celebrate Corona survivors. So, firstly, congratulations on that. And also, with the COVID-19 pandemic being around, there's one thing about the frontline workers doing their bit. And I don't call them for frontline workers. For me, they are frontline warriors. All right. So, just to depart our question and our conversation into whole, what's your view there?
Yeah, so, first of all, I'm quite grateful for the organization Corona Warriors to get me on their board, as well as CSG Group. I mean, I've been on their board for a long time, and there we've actually been supporting the most impacted and vulnerable people that are the farmers. And we've done a lot of work for them already in multiple states. So with Corona Warriors, and we know, at this point in time, nobody wants to step out of their houses. Everybody is scared. So with Corona Warrior Champions, what's happening is we are actually, picking up people who've actually survived Corona. They've come out of it, and we are then trying to, promote this into the world. Actually, letting people know that you don't need to be scared of Corona. You need to take your precautions, no doubt about that. You need to wear your mask. You need to ensure your hygiene levels. You need to maintain social distance. These are the kind of things that we are bringing out through Corona Champions, and this is a citizen-led movement actually, and it's very recent that I've joined with them, and we hope to make a huge social impact with this. So basically, we're trying to take away the scare that's in humans at the moment, and make this a more livable world rather than a world that is actually very scared of what's the future going to be like. So this is what Corona Champions is all about, and you will hear a lot more about it. Like I mentioned, it's a citizen-led movement. In fact, it's also an offshoot of Khana Chahiye, which is another movement that's gained significant ground, and it's it's out there in the media. You can have a look at that, where food is being supplied to all these migrants that are going across, and we're really helping out in a big way. So I hope that answers your question, and I really love helping the community. So yeah.
Thank you so much, Rohan. I think this episode includes a lot about not only just information, but also concluding on inspiration. So, information along with inspiration, a story which you have capsulated with your journey is really good to know. And it is good to meet you after quite some time, Rohan. I remember when last we met, as you rightly said, it was in the Leadership Summit. And there, it was a great experience knowing you and interacting with you. And I'm so glad that we've kept in touch post that summit ourselves. So once again, a big thank you so much for joining in, Rohan. And I'm sure this episode is going to be a revelation to all the viewers.
Thank you, Bhavana. And before we leave, I'm just going to compliment you on that event that you did. I think you had a whole host of people that were legends in the industry there, and the way you handled yourself at that event, and basically all the greats, Narayan Murthy, Adi Godrej, you kind of the way you manage that, I think it's a revelation in itself. So, I would like to compliment you for that, and I hope you take your leadership series to a new level completely. So, thanks, Bhavana, for having me on this show.
Thank you so much, Rohan.
You're welcome. Thank you.